Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co., and these are my top 15 disappointments for 2024. Specifically board games, that is. If I was talking general disappointments, I'd probably have a few people in here, as well as the fact that I haven't yet watched the newest Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Is it good? I heard it's good. I've only watched the first one, actually. I still need to watch 2 and then 3. Either way, let's go ahead and dive into these. These are my top 15 board game disappointments in 2024, and they are mostly 2024 titles. There might be a few in there that are actually from a little bit earlier that kind of moved in, but it's mostly 2024 games, and then some that I just haven't gotten to talk about yet. And as usual, I should note, in general, this video does not mean that they are bad games. It doesn't mean that they're bad games for you, and it doesn't mean that they're bad games for me. It means that I thought they'd be here, and they were instead not there. They were lower than here. Some of these are games I would rather not play again. Others are games that I was just disappointed by the experience in some way, shape, or form. Either way, they are not inherently bad games just because they're on the list. I'm saying that for all the people who don't actually, watch the video, because as I talk about these games, I'll tell you how I feel with them. But if you're just looking for, the various thumbnails and trying to see the timestamps, not the thumbnails. If you're looking at the timestamps and just trying to see what games there are, some of these games I actively prefer not to play again. Others, they just kind of fell short of where I hoped they would be. With that, let's go ahead and start with number 15. And number 15 is very specifically number 15 because it's kind of an asterisk attached to this game. And this is Aqua from the Op. Aqua is a tile-laying game that is going to appeal to those people who like games like Cascadia or Calico or any games that have you laying tiles. I think Cascadia. I think it's very Cascadia-ish. Acropolis, all those kinds of experiences. Which is why it appealed to me. It looked charming, great art, easy accessible rules, a lot of point score optimization, and I thought the experience was okay at best. I thought the game's premise of what it wanted you to do fell short of how much the game actually allowed you to do. The asterisk to this particular note is that the fact that I played the game wrong. Now, this is not a me problem. This is the fact that the rulebook is actually wrong. The rulebook uses the word exactly in a way that does not mean exactly. They say exactly 3 when what they really mean is 3 or more. And that, without knowing the game, trust me when I say that absolutely changes the way you play the game and restricts how much you can actually get done. And so I really wanted to like the experience. I liked the premise of the experience. It didn't allow me to get as much done as I would like, and that's because of a mistake in the rulebook. But by the time I knew that, I had already gotten rid of it. They posted an update and clarification later, so some of my disappointments for 2 reasons, both because of the issue with the rules, and also the fact that I just wanted to like it, and I don't actually know how much I will or won't like it unless I ever table it again. Coming in number 14, we also have an asterisk, and this asterisk is because this is Eila and Something Shiny, and I'm not disappointed by the gameplay. I'm disappointed by the experience I thought I would get as far as where the story was going, and then the actual conclusion of the story, which was, the way I put it, is Eila and Something Shiny kind of slaps you in the face at the end of it. You see, Eila and Something Shiny is a solo choose your own adventure game in which you're making choices that will impact the way you go through this journey. Think of it as going through multiple days, and every day you learn a little bit more about what this journey is, who you're going to interact with, what resources you might need, and so you kind of have this degree of learning and choices as you go through the game. But then when you get to the final end of the game, there are also choices you can make. And the problem here is if you make the wrong choice, you get such a depressing ending that it's like, why? Why was that the takeaway of this entire story? It's this kind of feel-good story of these little creatures that are kind of making friends and learning and going on these stories, and then at the end of it, it's kind of like, and they died at the end. I'm not actually giving spoilers, I'm just being dramatic in my expressing of how weird the ending was. I'm assuming there is a good ending in there somewhere. I was so deflated by how they handled the luck of the draw ending that I was like, well, that's stupid. I like the game mechanically, but I did kind of get smacked in the face as far as where I thought the game was going, and to that end, I liked the game. I would play another game that takes place in that kind of system, but I definitely would have much less expectations as far as any degree of story that is attached to that game. My number 13 is River of Gold. And River of Gold is one that I'm kind of frustrated that I don't see why, and this is going to be true for other games later on this list, but River of Gold is fine. But a lot of people seem to really like it, and I just think it's fine. And I'm not sure what it is I'm missing, because on paper it also does seem like the kind of game I should enjoy. Visually, it's beautiful. It's got this board with this little like foil board and the river of gold as you go through it. Mechanically, you're rolling a die and then using that to assign one of 3 actions as you place buildings on the river, move boats along the river, activating yours and others' buildings, or fulfill various contracts. So it seems very straightforward, easy rules, easy gameplay, a little bit of tableau building, a lot of little decisions around, do you spend a fate, I can't remember if it's called fate, but spend a resource to adjust the die, do you use the die as is? It seems like the kind of game experience I should enjoy, but every time I've played it, I feel it kind of ends much earlier. Like, it feels like it ends right when my engine is picking up in a way that I'm always like surprised by. I'm like, oh, I guess the game's over now. I thought we were going that way, and the game just kind of ended. And it doesn't mean that it's a surprise. You can see it coming, but I just mean the timing of it. It feels like it's going to last longer than it does. And then when it does end, it also feels like you didn't get enough done, at least for me. So for me, River of Gold is one that I really want to like more than I do, so it's a bit of a disappointment for me. Coming in at number 12, we have Flock Together. Flock Together is one that I never actually played the final game, so I should give a disclaimer on that, but I played the prototype of it, and I love the idea of the game. I like the cooperative style gameplay. I like the fact that you're fighting against various creatures along the way. I like the artist of the game is Andrew Bosley, that's great. And so by all accounts, this was one that I was very excited to like, to enjoy, to appreciate. But then I played it, and I thought there were a few small issues with it. One of them is just the fact that I felt that most of my game came down to the acquisition of food across multiple actions, and then spending it all at once. So it's food, 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 and then attack, spending all your food, and heal, spending all your food, and then food, 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 attack, heal, food, 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 attack, heal. You can kind of get where I'm going with this. There's a lot of focus on gathering food, and less focus on the actual fun parts of the game, which I thought were, I'd rather focus on the fun parts, not the tedious nature of acquiring just to spend. Meaning lots of games have you acquiring things and you have to spend those things. That is a very big part of many games. But I think to me, the fact that everything you're acquiring kind of just comes down to this one resource, and then you just spend it in these giant chunks, meant that I didn't feel there was a satisfaction. Or at least, like, if you're acquiring stuff and you use it to, like, build a building that makes your tableau better, there's a feeling of, like, oh, I'm working towards something. When the acquisition is all very static and the spending isn't tableau-oriented, it feels like there's a lot of effort and little decision space around this core concept in the game, so I didn't love that. Also, I had another content creator pointed out that I only saw this after, where effectively you have these animals that are these big threats to you. Like, it's a cooperative game, you have to defeat these big threats that are not actually threats because you have to go out and fight them. They don't actually come and fight you. So you're actually the villain of the story when you think about it, because these enemies are leaving you alone until you go out and kill them, which kind of makes you the bad guys, which is another little thing about Flock Together. Coming in at number 11, we have Intarsia. Intarsia from Pegasus Spiel, I believe, was one that is beautiful visually and the kind of gameplay that I would enjoy, but it didn't have a lot of variability to the experience. It felt very samey game to game. My first game, I was like, this is fun. My second game, I was like, that was the exact same thing I just did again. And I could repeat that, but the beautifulness of the game, like, it very much felt like it's trying to be an Azul style game in terms of the target audience for that game. Very charming, very, very easy to dive into, very elegant, but the end result of it was, I'd rather just play Azul. Intarsia kind of left me wanting. Coming in at number 10, I should note, by the way, these are kind of ranked in terms of how disappointed I was by the experience, which does not mean how good the experience is. It means that the level of how good I thought it was and the gap. So a game could be better or worse at different points in the list. It kind of comes down to how excited I was versus how much of a gap that was for me. Coming in at number 11, number 11, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. That was 11 Intarsia. Coming in at number 10. Number 10 is Mistborn, the deck building game from Brotherwise Games and John D. Clare. And between the theme, the publisher, and the designer, I was excited to play this one. I was like, a deck building game. I'm excited to play it. And then I played it and I was like, this is fine. On all accounts, this is a fine game. There's nothing wrong with Mistborn, the deck building game. It checks all the boxes, but to me it feels like it doesn't do anything new or interesting to the genre. The thing that is the newest about it would be the concept of these burning metals, but that actually felt a bit more tedious as a system than what I would ideally like. So for me, the thing it did new didn't feel better, it just felt a bit more complicated than the typical resource economy you have in any deck building game. The solo mode was, I thought, a little bit more interesting, but ultimately I'd still rather just play other games. Ultimately, Mistborn to me, there's nothing wrong with it, but it felt like the kind of game that would have been a great game 10 years ago and now is kind of forgettable unless you're there for the theme. If you're there for the theme, by all means, this is a good deck building game. But if you're not looking for themes specifically, if you're interested in mechanics, I think there are so many better deck building games out there right now. Coming in at number 9, we have Sweet Mess from Fantasia Games, or Pika Games, I believe, actually. I think it's Pika Games. They're sister companies. Sweet Mess was one I was very excited about, because I'm excited about anything Fantasia Games puts out. Oh my gosh, Unconscious Mind is one of my favorite new games this year. It is so good. I just played it again last night with more expansions. I need to play it even more, and then eventually tell you all the thoughts and all that stuff. Well, I told you the thoughts last time, but I'm going to give a re-review. Anyways, this is not about Unconscious Mind, this is about Sweet Mess, specifically because of Endless Winter, Unconscious Mind. I like and I'm excited for what Fantasia Games puts out. To be fair, Sweet Mess wasn't necessarily their game so much as a game they rescued, so perhaps my excitement was misaligned. I don't think Sweet Mess was bad, but I thought Sweet Mess was a little messy. Pun not intended or irony not intended, it's just kind of a messy game. The game is a little bit, the way I'd put the game is, it's a drop too complicated to be a gateway-friendly game the way I typically would recommend or suggest or play a gateway game, whether it's kids or just gateway gamers. But it's not rewarding enough and it's too chaotic to be a heavier strategy game, which meant it fell into this weird place for me where visually it looks great. I kind of want to like it, it has elements of fun to it, but it's not one that I will prioritize or table because of the fact that it falls in the middle of these two categories. Being too complicated for a gateway game, and then not rewarding enough and too messy for a heavy strategy game. Coming in at number 8, we have Heroes of Might and Magic 3, the board game from Arkane Studios. I was excited to play this game. I like anything that has a kind of adventure mode, although to be fair, I probably should stop being excited for those because they usually let me down. Mage Knight is the best in class in this genre, in the genre of adventure games. The problem with Mage Knight is I eventually, finally, after 7 years of agonizing over it, I finally got rid of Mage Knight because it's too complicated and I don't table it. Or more specifically, when I table it, I'm like, I should play this more, and then I don't. And I repeat that cycle for like 7 years now, or however long it's been, for a while. I've been repeating that cycle for a while. I still think Mage Knight is incredible. Anyone who is making time to play it, you have a great game on your hands. It is best in class, full stop, period, all that. For me, I'm not prioritizing it. It's very, very good. Mage Knight is, I have mixed thoughts on Mage Knight. Anyway, outside of Mage Knight, every game I've ever played in that adventure category, or I should say almost every other game, because when I think of that adventure style gameplay, I do love The Witcher Old World. That's a great one, but most games that kind of try to give you that adventuring around a board situation where the other players you could interact with, but you may or may not, you don't necessarily have to. Most games that do that, I do find I end up comparing to Mage Knight and they end up being not as good. Now, to be fair, you could point out, well, I don't have Mage Knight now, so what about now? And I'll answer The Witcher. The Witcher is the one I'm going to compare them to because I love The Witcher and I think that's excellent. But the other ones I've played usually aren't as good as I would like. They often have more rules overhead than I would like, more checking up references for all the various locations, and then the gameplay itself is usually not as rewarding as I would like. Heroes of Might and Magic 3, the board game, is a fine game, but there's too much referencing the rulebook for all the various locations. It's a similar problem I had to, what's that game that Steamforged Games picked up? That big box, Euthia, Torment Resurrected, or whatever it's called. That's the Euthia. It's called Euthia something of Torment. I don't know. Euthia was a very similar game to Heroes of Might and Magic in terms of there were things that I liked about the experience and things that were fun, but ultimately it didn't feel as elegant as I would like. I'd probably just rather play a video game or The Witcher Old World. Coming in at number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Coming in at number 6. Am I at 6? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I did the counting wrong. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Oh, that's why, because I skipped one. Coming in at number 7, we have Thunder Road Vendetta. Thunder Road Vendetta is, I think it's 2023 title over here, but it's one that I finally got to play this year, and it was fine. It was a fine game. I enjoy Thunder Road Vendetta. I think it's a fun game. And to be fair, I only played the base game. I did not play the full all-in, all of that. There are a lot of people that say the whole Maximum Carnage edition is the best way and the only way to really, truly appreciate it. And I am open to playing that one day. But in the meantime, that's not what I had. This game was bought and it was not cheap for the base game. And so the experience I got was not the ideal experience. Now, I don't know whether they intend for the base set to be a complete ideal experience or not. But what I was left with was a game that was totally fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was charming. It had elements of things blowing up. I did have issues with it, primarily the fact that it kind of felt like it was supposed to be a race game, but ultimately I didn't feel like winning or losing came down to any actual skill so much as just carnage. It was carnage. It was like, hey, let's watch things blow up and see who's the last person standing. So it falls into that game where it's a little bit too party-ish to be a strategy game, but too strategy to be a party game. And again, it's one I would happily play, and I'm definitely open to playing all the other stuff. But I was expecting, like, this game, people love this game, and I was expecting to be, like, kind of blown away, and I was just left with a game that was more about what's happening than your actual role in it. And while I don't mind that, it's not a bad thing, it's also not the hype that I was kind of expecting for Thunder Road Vendetta. Coming in at number 6, we have Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs was adorable, and it was cute. And I do like the Gloomhaven system enough that I was like excited for this new version, new iteration of that system that would give you the smallest, most accessible version. I should get to a point, and I don't know, maybe not, because what I was going to say a second ago is I should start learning that I don't like small experiences, but that's not true. If you watch my channel, you know how many small experiences I love. I love For Northwood. I love dozens of Button Shy games. My small box games are some of my favorite games. It's not about small experiences, rather it's about when someone tries to give you a big box experience in a small game. I find those I often am not as impressed as maybe others are. They're not. I find if you're going to give me a big box experience, give me a big box experience. Don't shove it into a smaller game, because then usually I'm like, well, the bigger game is better. It's just the bigger game is a better game. And that is what happened with Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. I thought that if the goal was to be an accessible entry point to Gloomhaven, I think that Jaws of the Lion does it so much better. Buttons and Bugs felt a little bit more fiddly, not as good, needing the rules. It's actually a separate, you even need to go to the URL to find even more of the rules from the rulebook. It was, I'm sure there's a target audience for people who are enjoying that game. For me, I just felt like I'd rather play Jaws of the Lion. It kind of reminded me of the parts of Gloomhaven that are great, and again, I think it has its place. I think there are people who are going to appreciate a Gloomhaven that can fit in your pocket, that you can take on an airplane and play it literally on an airplane. I'm sure people will appreciate that. For me, I'd rather play a game that's meant to be played in an airplane, if that makes sense, as opposed to one that has been adapted to play on an airplane. Anyways, coming in at number 5, we have Divinus. Divinus from Lucky Duck Games, and I reserve my right to change my mind on this one, but currently, because I'm still playing through it, I'm still going through it right now, although I'm at the point where give me a few more games, and I'm either going to continue playing or give up on playing on it. We'll see where it goes. But Divinus is one that I was hoping that once you broke past the first game or two, it would get more interesting. Because when I played the prototype way back when, I was like, this game is interesting. It's a little light, but I am excited to see what the legacy elements do and unlock, and I'm excited to see where it goes, because I only had access to the first 2 scenarios when I played the prototype. But so far, I'm not seeing anything better about it. So far, Divinus to me is still just continuing to be a light game with scoring that does not feel super intuitive, rewarding, or obvious. The rounds all end with like, things happened and points were scored, and who won, I don't really know. Just stuff was done, goals were achieved, and all that. And in the meantime, you're just laying tiles and then placing stickers down, and then the thematic elements of it all have you basically referencing text of these epic things that kind of happen that you don't really feel any sense of it as you play. It's not bad, but it might be one of the legacy games that I don't finish. And usually I love finishing legacy games. I do find that the element of unlocking stuff gives you more reason to keep playing in a game. And the fact that I might not finish it does not bode well for it. We shall see. But as of right now, Divinus is my number 5 as far as number 5 most disappointed in 2024. Coming in number 4, we have Planta Nubo. Now, Planta Nubo is not a bad game. This goes back to those various notes I make, but some of these games are not about them being bad. It's just that it's coming from Uri Rosenberg, put out by Devere Games, or at least Devere Games handled the US distribution, if I'm not mistaken, and it looks visually delightful, has a lot of things that are crunchy and interesting going on, and I felt like someone who's a huge fan of A Feast by Odin, I was very excited for Planta Nubo, and very excited for that to be a game that works for me. And it's just okay. There's nothing wrong with Planta Nubo. It's a solid game. It's just that it's coming from a designer and a publisher that have so many better games than Planta Nubo is. Planta Nubo is a little overwrought and not as rewarding as I would like when I'm trying to play those kinds of games. But I was very excited for it. Visually, the designer, the publisher, the type of game it is, all of those things had me completely prepared to love Planta Nubo. And I don't. It's just good. Coming in at number 3, we have My Island. Speaking of legacy games that I don't know if I'll finish, My Island, I might finish it. I probably should finish it. I mean, I just started another round of My City because I love My City. And My Island was the spiritual successor to it. Same designer, same publisher, same type of game. And it's just more fiddly than My City ever was. There's nothing wrong with My Island. Heck, if it ever goes on BGA, I'll probably try doing a new run-through from start because it's easier to table there as like a little side distraction. But where My Island is right now, I don't even know how many games into it I am, like 15 out of 24. Like, I'm decently enough into it. I'll probably finish it. I should finish it. But it's just not My City. And I don't know if it ever will be My City. It's a little more fiddly. It's a little less obvious. It's it's not as good. That's what it comes down to. It's just not as good as my city was, and I was really, 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 really excited for my island. It's still not a bad game, but there isn't a world in which I'd recommend my island over my city, considering I'm having a hard time finishing my 24 plays of my island, and I've played my city 8 times, 7 times, some huge amounts of times. And for clarification, that means 7 times 24, not 7 plays, because it's a whole series of 24 plays. Anyways, my island, was very excited for this one. It's not as good as the original. Coming in number 2, we have Sand from Devir Games. Sand was, oh my gosh, this is one where my excitement wasn't even that high, but the experience was that low. I didn't like Sand, and for a variety of reasons, one of which is my fault, the rest of which are not. The part that's my fault is Sand is a pick up and deliver game, and I do know that pick up and deliver games aren't my preferred type of game. I have liked a few of them, but they're generally not my preferred gameplay mechanic, and maybe I should stay away from them, but the truth is, how would I find the ones that I like? Like, I love Xia Legend of Drift System, there's a few others, like there's some really solid pick up and deliver games out there, and if you don't try them, how will you know which ones are those games? Plus trick taking. Trick taking is a mechanic that I used to really just like, and now I like it a lot because I've played enough games that had it done well. So, I don't know. Either way, that's on me. The part that's not on me is, again, this next part is, we're divided up into 3 categories. One is my fault. That's the fact that's pick up and deliver. One is no one's fault, which we'll get to in a second. And the other is Devir's fault, in my opinion. Because the Devir fault one is the rulebook is atrocious. I think the rulebook for Sand is very, very, very bad. There were several content creators struggling through it. There were lots of things that are just not intuitive or even arguably incorrect or very, very vague as far as the rules of the game. It was a struggle. When I think of my worst rulebooks I've read this year, Sand is almost certainly the worst rulebook I've read this year. And then the middle category is where it's no one's fault, which is the type of game it ended up being as far as how heavy and crunchy it is. Because I can really like a good, heavy, crunchy game, but not always. It kind of depends on how and where that game goes. And in the case of Sand, it is a heavy, crunchy game that combines with Pick 'em Deliver in a way that makes it just really, really, like, every single delivery you make, you have to min-max every aspect of it. And I think that I can like heavy games, but as much as I don't like Pick Up and Deliver, I like it even less when you combine it with the crunchiness of a heavy, heavy game. And so ultimately, Sand was one that was a big flop for me. In some ways, I think it might be a game others will enjoy. If you like heavy and Pick Up and Deliver, if that combination works for you, it could be great. But for me, it was definitely a big, big letdown. And then my number 1 disappointment was Invincible, the card game. From Direwolf Games. This is one that I had a lot of people talking about how good the game was, and specifically making comparisons as well to Marvel United, which is a system I love. So combine people talking all that up, combine a deck building and Direwolf, which is just a great combination offhand, and then combine the fact that I like the Invincible TV show, like I like the IP it's based on. I was super excited to play Invincible. And then I did. And I thought it was okay at best. I didn't think it gave me anything to be super excited about. I don't know what it is about the game that has excited others. I should probably try to play it with somebody who was excited about it, who did enjoy it, because I must be missing something. I don't think Invincible is bad. It is well rated. I think that for whatever reason, something about the game is bouncing hard off of me. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Again, this goes back to River of Gold at the top of this list. Sometimes other people see something and you just don't. And for me, I really wanted to like Invincible, and I kind of just was left with a game that I was like, you draw stuff, you assign stuff, you make optimal decisions that seem fairly obvious, which again, you could sit there and make fun of me from Day Into Tomorrow about Marvel United. You draw a card, you play a card, it's like the villain's gonna attack you, oh no, what do I do to keep... You can make any game sound stupid, make no mistake. I never, as much as I always like can devolve into like, oh, you draw cubes, you assign cubes, I want to be clear that anyone can do that about any game. That's not why Invincible is a bad game. That's me just explaining why it felt like that to me. It didn't feel like a good, thematic, fun experience. It felt like I draw cubes and I assign cubes. And but some games, that can be so much fun. And with Invincible, it just felt like that. It didn't feel like I was making interesting decisions. It felt like I just did what the bag wanted me to do. That's what I should say. It's not about the drawing cubes and assigning cubes. It's that I never felt like the decisions I was making were actually interesting, and I wasn't pulled in by feeling the theme of it either. So in those fronts, it had a theme, but it didn't elevate the gameplay, and the mechanics didn't feel like I was making interesting decisions. And so that was my number 1 most disappointed game, Invincible, the card game from Direwolf. In any case, these are my disappointments, my 15 disappointments, board game disappointments, obviously. I'm not going to talk about, whoever. These are my 15 board game disappointments for 2024. Let me know in the comments down below. First of all, which one do you think I'm most wrong about? You could feel free to say Invincible. Any others? I am curious. Maybe, listen, if enough people say Invincible, I'll try it again. I'll keep going through it and see if there's something there to like. I don't know. And then also, I'm interested in which games you bounced off of as well that are not on my list at all. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.